Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Majoration Podcast, where we talk about all things inspirational, aspirational, and motivational. My name is Major. I'm the host, but today it's not about me. It's never about me. It's about the amazing guests that I bring onto the show. And today I have Amy. She has an amazing story. She's going to talk about her transition from the corporate world, going into the private money world, inspiring people and giving them tools and tips to elevate and exist in that particular industry. Amy, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here and just share whatever knowledge I have with all of you today.
So first, I want to unpack one of the things that I saw on your social media in regards to the transition. So how was there a specific moment that made you say, you know what, I want to leave the corporate structure and go and deal with the private money sector and show people how to tap into this particular resource?
Yes, for me, it was the end of 2014. After undergrad, my background's traditional. A lot of you guys can probably relate to this. I worked a corporate job for Dell Computers for the first 14 years of my career, which I still can't believe. And I was actually pursuing what I thought at the time was my dream job with Nike in Portland, Oregon. And I was an HGTV junkie. I wanted to flip one or two houses just for fun. I didn't have a why. I didn't know what I wanted to spend the money on. I'm very competitive, former athlete. So I hired a coach, and it's crazy because I was never looked at as a leader in corporate America. I was always just a problem solver. And of course, with my coach's help, once I learned how to, analyze deals and build a team and flip houses, which I started out doing in downtown Chicago as a brand new part-time real estate investor, I didn't realize I had this just natural skill set of raising private money. So on accident, that very first year, I ended up flipping 10 properties. So at the end of 2014, two things happened. Number one was I did genuinely fall in love with the transformation process, and I've been a full-time, real estate investor, still flipping houses ever since. And number two, I did see that there was no cap on my financial earning potential. So I left my job at Dell. I've been a full-time investor ever since. And all of that was really due to my ability to raise private money, which I always joke, but it's not really a joke. We all have strengths and weaknesses. That's just the one thing I'm just really good at. And I'm always saying, don't come to me for any other advice, but if you need help solving the money problem, I got you.
Right, and I think that's what brought it full circle when I was talking to Aaron. I was explaining to him about my nonprofit. So I'm the founder of Major Kicks for Kids. It's a 501(c) nonprofit, and what we do is very simple in regards to the structure. Is that we give away over 1,000 pair of sneakers every single year to kids in need, and we do statewide shoe drives here in California, and we work with programs with homeless veterans. It's very straightforward. It's simple. I raise money, I buy sneakers, I give them away, right? And so I think he kind of fell in love with that process and asked me where we were with things. And it was like, how's the money raising going? I said, well, I've been a little distracted for the last 7 years because I've been in another industry, obviously, running for governor of California. But being to resurface in this new chapter of my life as an entrepreneur, as a brand, and someone that's considered an authority, I really want to put a lot of effort into my nonprofit. So I said, we haven't done much, but we're working to get there. And it's like, you should meet my friend Amy. She's this amazing person. And I got a glimpse of, like I said, some of your talks and stuff like that. But here in this particular part that you just stated, as far as working with Dell, I didn't know that. Is there anything from Dell as far as the structure, the systems that you were able to apply into what you're doing right now?
Dell was very good to me. And I appreciate the opportunity, of course. No, to be very direct. There was nothing I took from Dell. Something I was very good at, which was just a part of my character, it was networking. It was just naturally being able to talk to people. It didn't matter how high up or across which department. And I guess what I just remembered is because of my ability to just build relationships, right, and build bridges internally at Dell, I was able to actually systematize so much of my JOB at Dell because I knew how to foster and nurture relationships. That is the foundation of knowing how to raise capital, is knowing how to meet a complete stranger and knowing what to say, what not to say, how to tactfully and respectfully dangle that carrot so that over a course of, phone calls and meetings, you get them to invest their hard-earned dollars with you. So you could say I had 14 years of experience learning how to navigate through multiple personalities at Dell. But as far as systems were concerned, those were all specifically to raising private money systems I just tested, measured, and more importantly, created myself when I started 10 years ago, again, just on accident. It was never supposed to be what it is today.
Right. So just as a jewel that you can share, because obviously that's kind of like the field that I'm in. I believe in being a conversationalist. I was able to get 2 million people to support me based upon my storytelling ability, based upon me having genuine, authentic conversations on the front porches of people, and meeting people where they were. What you just said made a lot of sense. But what do you say to people who, when it comes to raising money, sometimes they can be a little anxious, and it's, you got to close them right there on the spot at the minute, or this big opportunity to raise for your project or your fund or whatever, it could evaporate right there. How do you
Sure.
prepare to deliver in those segmented moments? People talk about the elevator pitches, right? How do you make an impact, or what's memorable about that interaction? How do you compartmentalize that during that specific time? Obviously, you've had time to do it, but if someone is just asking a question, what are some of the foundational things they could do now to get better at it as far as closing and making an impression on people who are doing this for us, the money aspect of it?
Sure. For any business, whether it's real estate or any other entrepreneurial business, the number one thought is mindset. So we have to be in the right frame of mind. We really have to understand and build that foundation. So why are we raising money? What's in it for us? What's in it for the private money lenders? We have to set ourselves up in a position to win and to know how to answer the hard questions, because so many of us as business owners and real estate investors think, I can't raise money. I've never done this before, or I don't have any experience, or I don't have any rich friends and family members. And I immediately think, none of that matters, right? What matters as a business owner is your ability to build a team, to highlight your team, to highlight the opportunity, to show other people, your mailman, your neighbors, people from church, community events, how you are offering them an amazing opportunity to earn double-digit returns backed by real estate, right? So a lot of it is that mindset shift where we're not asking for anything, right? We're offering an opportunity. And we really have to believe before we even open up our mouth to start raising capital that, you know what, we're doing you a favor. We're not going to say that, right? I'm
Right.
the one offering you double-digit returns backed by real estate. I'm the polished professional poised for aggressive growth. You're not doing me a favor by lending me 100,000, right? So it's just understanding why we're doing it first. And number one, the biggest mistake that business owners and real estate investors make is they just like data dump on the first date. Nobody knows you. Nobody cares. They don't care about your 15-page email dissertation. So it starts by just, to your point, planting seeds, just talking about who you are and what you do at a very high level without asking for anything.
Yeah, no, that's true. And so for you on your journey, when you started in 2014, would you say, as far as when you were segueing and walking over that bridge, were there any uh, motivating individuals that kind of helped you make that transition? Is there any mentors that were placed in your life that they help you identify that superpower and that talent that you have that you're good at?
I had, and I still have many personal and professional coaches and mentors and so on and so forth. As far as this one skill set is concerned, of course, my real estate coaches helped me discover that I had that talent. But if you look at the industry specific to real estate, and my whole world is real estate, right? So that those are all the examples I always share. There is not one real estate investor or educator who actually like holds your hand and breaks down every single step required to successfully get a complete stranger to lend you 6 figures in 21 days. Say this, don't say that, do this, don't do that, take them through this pitch deck. If they're from Wall Street, take them through this pitch deck. So it was just they were just theories and strategies I tested and measured because I was so passionate about what I was doing on the flipping side and the transformation side. I obtained these awesome opportunities to work with HGTV that I knew I had to figure it out. So I was always good at problem solving. So I would just talk to anyone and everyone. Now, was I organized? Did I have all my scripts, ironed out? No, but because I was so committed and disciplined, and I had systems for my flipping business in place that helped build the rapport and confidence in other people to just hear me out. And once they saw that I knew what I was talking about, of course, they were willing to listen to what the investment opportunities on the capital side look like.
No, that's great. I think a lot of times life experiences, whether it be from our careers, from just instances that we had, or other people's experience that we've learned from, give us that kind of leverage to move forward. But what I want to know is, I see that you have conferences and you're empowering people with this knowledge because you've identified a problem and you're like the fix, the salvation to those problems, right? Have you had any, and you can share one or maybe two, have there been any like testimonials that you can really like kind of like gloat a little bit and like pat yourself on the back because they started out probably, as you said, mindset wise, not believing it was possible? Like, how can I do this, right? Like, have you had any of
Yeah.
those moments?
Of course, that's very normal. Actually, just this morning, I was talking to my marketing team about updating our website and revamping everything. Some of you may have heard about my 4-second power pitch. So whether you're an introvert, an extrovert, new, experienced, part-time, full-time, business owner, or real estate investor, it doesn't matter. Step one for the rest of your life is my 4-second power pitch, which is I show people how to earn double-digit returns backed by real estate. So we have so many testimonials from people. I would be at a live event sharing my knowledge from stage in front of 20 people or thousands of people. And there's always at least one, but there were dozens of people who would say, and these are people from Wall Street to a brand new investor who doesn't even know what they want to do.
Yeah.
And they would be like, there's no way, like, how is this going to work? And I would give them the action item to go implement it throughout that weekend. And they had raised soft commitments, multiple 6 figures, just by dropping my 4-second power pitch. Now, let me just clarify and don't take this out of context. The 4-second power pitch is you just raising awareness and planting seeds 24/7 the minute you walk out that door with anyone and everyone you encounter, who you are and what you do. So that's going to just open up the door to ongoing follow-up conversations. So when you know what you're doing and you know how to answer the hard questions, it will eventually convert into a yes. But we got to talk about it first, right? Otherwise, people aren't going to ask us for more information.
Right. And so from your experience, who needs private money? Like, what's the purpose of private money and why do people prefer private money versus going to do a traditional bank loan, so to speak?
Sure. So in real estate, the 3 things I'm going to tell you not to leverage are as you become good at raising private money. So when I talk to you about private money, let me reframe this. When I talk to you about private money, I'm talking about anyone and everyone who has cash or assets sitting around collecting dust, and they don't even know they're in a position to lend. So what I'm not talking about are hard money lenders. I love my hard money lenders. I still work with them on occasion, but they're still not going to fund 100%. Number 2, I'm not talking about somebody brokering deals. I broker deals. There is a right and a wrong way to do that as well. People make a living out of that. Great. That's not what I'm talking about. Number 3 is I'm never talking about banks. Unless it's a long-term hold, we don't work with banks. So it's how do we target everyday people, middle income, middle class, with funds in their retirement account, cash collecting dust, money in the stock market they want to liquidate. Maybe they have a home equity line of credit they want to leverage from, and teach them on how they can earn security, insurance, and protection while earning 12% annualized on their money by investing in real estate. So it's everyday people. And the reason why we as real estate investors prefer private money is because it is the only way to obtain 110% of what we need. So across every investment strategy, regardless of your experience, credit, or liquidity, none of that matters. As long as you know how to build a team and analyze a deal, then they will consider investing with you. It's the only way to grow and scale.
Yeah. So when it comes to, and that's really good. I'm glad that you kind of laid that out in that way. Um, knowing that you're having these conversations with your team and revamping the website, when we talk about leadership, how has your leadership grown from when you began versus where you are now? And what have you had to unlearn from the corporate world now in this entrepreneurial journey, being a private money authority?
Oh man. Okay. So it's pretty cool. I'm a very, a lot of us will say we come from humble beginnings. I deal with imposter syndrome. I just hung up on a coaching call and people were giving me props and, congratulating me for a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, it's not me, it's my team, right? So I think a lot of things happen as you become a seasoned business owner, which is you start to realize, you know, I'm not successful because of what I'm doing. It's because of my team, right? So I always highlight my team, and I appreciate them for where I am today. And then it's a part of learning about living above the line, because when things go bad or you lose money on a deal, and I'm very open about 2017 being the worst year of my life, it's not my team's fault. I have to take credit and accountability, right, of those losses. And so I've learned how to become a better leader. I've learned how to navigate through tough times and focus more on problem solving. Um, and one of the things I really struggled with in the beginning was knowing how to hire the right people. So I think that's probably still a developmental opportunity for me, but I'm getting better at it. And as far as corporate America, my specific job at Dell, they actually didn't have a lot of systems in place. So I had to learn how to build and depend on systems to ensure I was maximizing the highest and best use of my time in my real estate business.
No, that's so true. And I was just thinking about something you just said right now, and I was actually going to talk about that when it comes to developing or hiring the right team. And I remember a picture of you standing with a good friend of mine, Patrick Bet David. And Patrick Bet David recently, he spoke about this a while back, but he most recently did another video on some of the key proponents to hiring rock star team members, right? Can you talk about how important that transition is, and what were some of the issues? What were some of the things that you wish you would have looked at before, and versus what you would look at now? Because
Oh
that's
man. So I was way too trusting. I'm still very naive. I'm a little trusting still and gullible. Back then, 10 years ago, way too trusting. I was growing so fast, drinking out of a fire hose, which I'm sure you and many others can relate to, that I was ready to start outsourcing before I had the right systems and vetting processes in place. Um, so I rushed it and I didn't take the time to build a solid foundation when it came to building my team. I would trust other business owners and entrepreneurs when they had a credible referral, I would just hire them. So now, 10 years in, after many highs and lows, wins and losses, successes and failures, I am very, very strict on my due diligence process. So whether that's analyzing a deal or hiring somebody, I will go through a minimum of 10 referrals. I want to talk to the happy ones and the ones who did not have a good experience. I have a 3-page list of questions, single space typed out, that I will take them through over a series of Zoom meetings if they're not local, phone calls. And I feel like, and I'm very strict about following it and I don't force it. So if 1 or 2 questions are off, then it's not a candidate I'm going to move forward with. And so I'm really good now at like creating systems and trusting in the system and moving away more so, which I'm curious to see if you agree with this, with like my gut feeling. Everything is just based upon data, and that's what helps drive my decision.
I think I have evolved into that as well because I've had those very same experiences. I try to see the best in people, and I've always, because I'm not college college graduate, although I went to college 4 years, but tried to go to the MBA too soon. Um, I like to see. I like people who are. I believe that people who have real life experience is just as experienced with people with degrees if they can do the job. That in itself has backfired simply because it didn't come with the mindset It didn't come with the understanding of systems. It didn't come with the understanding of hard work. And I'm a little bit older, so especially when you're dealing with younger generation, the work ethic, the foundational understanding of that is a lot different than when I started out back in the day. I was willing to be an intern. I was willing to just like gut it out and just learn on the job, so to speak. So yes, I have been one of those people who initially operated with my gut a lot. Now I use prayer and also data.
No, but that's huge, and it's and something I think a lot of us miss is, and this is something I actually learned from Natalie Dawson. And for those of you who don't know her, she's the co-founder of Cardone Capital. And she was telling me one day, the reason you're struggling is because you haven't done a good job of establishing metrics for your team and putting people in place to manage them. And I was like, you're right. I just, someone will be like, oh, I got you. I've been doing this for 10 years. I'm like, great, go do what you need to do. Like, you know what I'm thinking, right? And then I just let them run with it. So now I micromanage, but I micromanage by number one, being very clear with our goals and objective, and number two, having smart goals in place. And that's what I use to determine whether or not they're going to continue working like with our team.
Right. And
So
that's
that,
one of the things that the last time I was with Patrick Ray David, we had lunch. And one of the things, the foundational things that we both agree on how we operate, it's morals, values, and principles. That applies to friendships, that applies to associates, that applies to our marriages, that applies to the people that we work with as well. That's one of our that's one of our metrics as well that we use in addition to the data as well. I want to circle back though real quick because you mentioned something about um, dealing with regular people when it comes to private lending and different resources, because obviously a lot of people feel like they're not eligible to or even know any rich, wealthy people that could lend them money, right? What has been one of the most bizarre pieces of leverage anyone has ever offered for private money in your experience?
I mean, my mind went straight to 2015 in downtown Chicago. So let me just clarify. You want to know the strangest offer in exchange for private money?
Yes,
Okay, can I be real?
for sure.
Okay, so number one, ladies, it's gonna happen. I guess guys too. If anyone here has seen the movie Indecent Proposal, that's what happened. And and here's where I was so like naive in the industry, in the business, to where I'd been building rapport with this man for like 3, 4 months. And I thought we were like cool. And I just couldn't see what his end game was. And I was so blindsided by the proposal that I kindly and respectfully declined his offer, stood up, gave him a hug. Of course, we never spoke again. But now, 9 years later, if that were to come up, I would not be kindly hugging him and walking away. So, but it goes back to what you said with, look, you guys and girls, I'm from the Midwest. It doesn't matter whether you have experience or not. When you know what you're doing, you want to align yourself with people who have the same morals and ethics as you. You don't need everyone's money. I don't care how deep their pockets are. If you don't have fun with them, if you don't like them as a person, because believe it or not, your private money lenders will become your friends. They will become your inner circle, your family members. You're going to go on vacations together, events together. So you want to build the team, including your private money lenders, of people you enjoy spending your time with. They will become your family. So walk away. Don't be desperate. There are plenty of other people who will invest with you, who you do align with. And then number two, there was another situation where this was just like a a private money bully, basically, where he was cool. We spoke the same language. I liked him. He was like an uncle to a friend of mine. And the minute he initiated the wire transaction, he would call me 4 times a day. I was living in Chicago. He lived in Florida. He flew up unannounced in his private jet, showed up at the job site, demanding all these questions. So 7 days after he invested with me, I kindly cashed him out, principal and interest, and we haven't spoken ever since. So we have to do a good job as the business owner setting the foundation and helping our private money lenders understand that they are silent stakeholders. And every month we will send you updates, and you will earn your interest and principal at the end of the project in one lump sum. There's a lot that goes into that, but the moral of the story is don't compromise who you are in order to just take someone's dollar because you don't need it that badly.
Right. No, I'm glad you said that. I think a lot of people need to hear that message, especially for someone like yourself that's been in the game for a while, that's accomplished, and even just seeing the trajectory of your mindset in regards to your action then versus now, that could be extremely helpful for people to stand firm in those moments. And I think that's so important. Another thing I want to, excuse me, I want to go back to. I heard you mention that you're not a traditional broker. It kind of unpack that, because you say some people are brokers of money deals. I consider myself a certain broker of deals, and I've done as well too. Specifically, what does that mean in regards to what do you do that's different from an actual broker?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I love that question because I talk about it so often. And that's one of two things I wish I would have done differently when I started investing in real estate 10 years ago. I just started doing this 2 years ago. So, of course, they're traditional brokers, right? They have a license. This is their full-time job. They broker deals. They get paid off of it. That's awesome. That's great. I work with different types of brokers, whether it's an insurance broker. I no longer work with money brokers, but if you're wondering what a broker is, it's usually the people who are emailing you saying, hey, click on this link, fill out this application, we'll give you 70% loan to value. They're either brokers or hard money lenders. So when I broker deals, I don't have a license. I'm not a realtor. I'm not a GC. I'm not a broker. Everything I do is without a license because I do it the right way. Now, when you raise private money, let's say when you're raising private money, and you're doing it consistently, you're going to have more money coming in than you need. So I'll just use you as an example. If you have a deal and I've just got 200K from one of my private money lenders sitting on the sidelines, I'd reach out to you and I'd say, hey, I want to put my private money lenders funds to work. I don't have anything right now. I'm going to make an intro. My standard process is a flat fee of $1,000. You cool with that? I'm sure you're going to say yes. And so here are the legal do's and don'ts. Number one is that money is due just upon making the intro, whether the deal happens or not. Number two, it can't be a percentage of the loan amount. It has to be a flat fee. And what was number three? This came right from my securities attorney. I'm forgetting number three. But
Is it a residual return? Is that one of them?
a what?
It can't be a residual return.
Oh, that's one of them too. Yes. So, but that's not the one I was thinking about, but that is one too. So here's what I do. I basically reverse prospect, right? If I know you're good with a fee and I know my private money lender trusts me because I've already established these two relationships, I've had previous conversations, then I'm going to go ahead and make the intro. And if they don't end up investing with you, that's cool. I'm not going to call your fee due. I'm not going to collect. I'm just going to collect by choice if the deal goes through, right? And then I calculate my flat fee based upon a percentage of the loan amount. So for me, it's normally 1 to 2%, but I just can't say that, right? I can't say it's 1 to 2% of the loan amount. It's got to be a flat fee, regardless of how the project performs and regardless of whether or not you guys move forward with the deal.
No, that makes sense. I've done similar situations like that as well too. So it's good that you have a really good securities attorney that's kind of giving you that ballpark, because I have and that's one of the conversations me and Patrick David talked about, and me and some of his associates. I've never wanted to take a test to get licensed for something, to do something that I'm naturally good at regardless. So I'm a little bit rebellious when it comes to that, and I've had success doing it already. So I'm glad to hear other people exist in that space as well. Your advice, just play devil's advocate right now. For someone like myself, that's a founder, I have over 2 million emails. I have a pretty large social media and new podcast. Yes, it's small now, but once we push them out there, I think it's going to grow pretty fast with the people that we have on, like yourself and so many others. But specifically talking about the nonprofit, as I mentioned, it's been a labor of love over the last 4 or 5 years, giving away 1,000 pair of shoes every single year. My nonprofit is not like anything in real estate. There's no return, for people who give money in regards to just, on a wall of fame as a donor, as a giver, which could be considerably good for some companies that do that. Off the topic of real estate, what would be some of your advice for someone like myself trying to raise funds and get opportunities to fund it in a way where it's a functioning nonprofit? Right now, it's a per situation nonprofit. Oh, I found a group home that I want to fund and have 8 kids there. I'm gonna go and reach out to all my friends and whatever, but that kind of runs dry over a period of time. And you can imagine, I've been in politics the last 7 years. I've asked everybody for money already. So at some point, I have to find different mechanisms to use to really grow this nonprofit. What would be your advice? I'm not trying to get free advice, but I'm just hypothetical.
No, I get this question often. And actually, someone from PBD's team asked me, why aren't you teaching all business owners how to raise capital? I get that question all the time. And this is what's so crazy is the strategies that I teach, and I'll share some with you right now. It's all creative trust and rapport building. The examples I just use are relative to real estate because that's my experience. So for you, it's just taking my 4-second power pitch for starters and just tweaking it to speak to your nonprofit. It's finding a reputable organization that you can align, if you haven't already done so, your nonprofit with, so that like people see that you have their backing. It's getting creative and thinking outside the box, looking at your credentials and your background. All of those people in your network are still people that you can reposition and retarget in a different way. One of the things that I do with private money, and I teach investors all over the world, is going onto LinkedIn and getting creative and connecting with investment bankers. Because I used to connect with investment bankers, financial advisors, and stockbrokers. And I found over time, the stockbrokers and financial advisors are very conservative. Investment bankers are like you and I, they'll walk a fine line, they'll get creative, they'll never do anything that's unethical. And I just reach out to them in my own voice. I don't hire anyone else to do this. And I just say, hey, look, we run in a similar circle. We both work in the financial industry. I have an idea on how we may be able to collaborate. Do you have 5 minutes for an exploratory conversation? And then when I get the investment banker on the phone, half of them answer on LinkedIn, half of them don't. I'm straight up. I say, hey, look, I'm not here to steal your clients. I'm here to collaborate. If you have a client who wants to diversify their portfolio and invest in real estate, or you could say, invest in a nonprofit, send them to me as a referral. I will gladly educate them on who I am and what I do. And in return, if they end up investing with me, I will pay you a finder's fee. And I promise never to go directly to your client without going through you first. So I'm very direct. And there's no contract. It's the honor system. I don't put any of that stuff in writing just because, honestly, I'm lazy. But I'm also never going to be like, I'm never going to hold any relationship hostage, right? Contract or not, you want out or you don't want to fulfill your obligation, then I'm just never going to work with you again. But that's a strategy that people who have real estate businesses or other businesses have implemented all the time to successfully raise capital.
So before we get off, and that was a great explanation. Thank you for that. We have a few minutes. We have like 4 minutes left, so I didn't want to take a lot of your time. I just wanted to kind of keep it short and sweet, and maybe we can do it again on down the line. But I do want you to talk a little bit about your upcoming conference in regards to what it represents and what people can expect when they come to your upcoming event that I saw.
Oh yeah, no, I appreciate that. So I do these mini boot camps. I do 1-day private money workshops. Once a month, I do 2-day flipping boot camps. And then once a year, we do a raising private money conference. And so the next conference will be in West Palm Beach at the end of April in 2025. The next event we have coming up in the short term will be my 2-day flipping boot camp in West Palm Beach, November 8th and 9th. And the next 1-day private money workshop will be in LA, in Marina Del Rey in January. So these are all implementation events, which is cool because they're very different from other events where we just take a bunch of notes that we're never going to read again. So laptops are required, cell phones are required. I have you implementing 5 to 7 of my unique creative trust and rapport building strategies live and in person while I'm there hovering over your shoulders to make sure that you're following the system. and seeing results so that you guys leave the 1 to 3 day event with a list of private money lenders and an action plan to follow up on.
I think that's fantastic. A lot of, because a lot of times people do go with just the notepad or whatever. So that's a very unique experience, and I'm glad people have opportunity. If I'm in town, I definitely try to come by there myself as well, and probably bring my wife. We would love to kind of get in the know from that perspective as well. This has been a great conversation, Amy. I'm glad I had opportunity to get on with you. Thank you for saying yes. And thank you for sharing so many gems and your wisdom. And you have such a great story that I think so many people are going to be inspired by. Just going back to your morals, your beliefs, and just the struggles, and being open about those as well. And also just talking about your evolution and your superpower. I'm gonna make sure to tag all of the information in regards to your Instagram, your LinkedIn, your Twitter, whatever. I'm sure Tina will reach out to you as well. If there's anything that we can do for you on our end, I'll double back and hopefully we have another conversation about some of the things that have going on as well. There may be some synergy there that we can put together. But other than that, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. I'm glad Mr. Sharif, put us together, and we'll continue to build and grow.